Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to provide a brief overview of how Deer Park protects our community through the combined efforts of education, enforcement, and engineering. These three components form the foundation of our fire and life safety strategy and guide how we review buildings, address hazards, and ensure safe development across the city. My goal is to give you a clear picture of how these processes work together and to reduce risk and keep our residents and first responders safe. Today, we'll cover concepts, code enforcement, occupancies, fire resistance, testing to determine fire ratings, characteristics of unsafe structures, plan reviews, and then I'll summarize. Let's talk about the basic concepts of education, enforcement, and engineering. Education is all about making sure our residents know how to keep themselves safe before an emergency ever happens. When we teach families about smoke alarms, safe cooking practices, or how to create a home escape plan, we're giving them the tools to prevent fires and react quickly if one happens. The more the community of Deer Park understands basic safety, the fewer dangerous situations we face. Education is our first line of defense. Enforcement means making sure buildings in our city follow fire and safety codes that are already in place to continue to protect the people. When code enforcement conducts inspections, they're not trying to hassle anybody. They're making sure exits aren't blocked, electrical systems are safe, alarms work properly, and sprinklers are installed where they should be. These rules exist because they save lives, and enforcement ensures everyone plays their part in keeping the public safe. Engineering is the behind the scenes work that makes buildings and equipment safer from the start. This includes things like fire resistant materials, automatic sprinkler systems, alarms, and safe electrical designs. When we talk about engineering, we're talking about building safety into the construction so problems are less likely to happen in the first place. Good engineering means our firefighters face fewer dangerous situations and our citizens face fewer emergencies. In Deer Park, code enforcement works to keep our community safe, clean, and up to standard by responding to citizen complaints and patrolling neighborhoods for issues like high grass, junk vehicles, unsafe structures, and unpermitted work. Officers inspect properties, document violations, and issue notices giving owners time to fix problems with the goal of achieving voluntary compliance whenever possible. If issues aren't corrected, the city can use tools like fines, stop work orders, or even property liens to ensure the rules are followed. Overall, the system combines education, clear communication, and enforcement authority to maintain health, safety, and quality of life throughout our city. In Deer Park, code is applied to new and existing occupancies through a combination of permitting, inspections, and ongoing code enforcement. New construction must follow the city's adopted building and electrical codes, and projects that don't meet these standards must obtain a variance before moving forwards. For existing occupancies, the Code Enforcement Division responds to citizen complaints and conducts inspections to ensure properties continue to comply with zoning, environmental health, and building regulations, addressing issues like unsafe structures, unpermitted work, junk vehicles, and other ordinance violations. Property owners are given notice and time to correct violations, but the city can escalate to fines, stop work orders, or liens if necessary to maintain safety and compliance across all occupancies. When we talk about how fire resistant building materials are, that isn't just a guess. There are national organizations that actually test those materials in controlled fire conditions to see how long they can hold up. Groups like the ASTM International, the National Fire Protection Association, or the NFPA, and Underwriters Laboratories, or UL, create the official test standards that manufacturers have to meet. These labs expose materials to intense heat and flames to measure things like how fast fire spreads across them or how long they can stay structurally sound before failing. Companies such as Intertech and SGS, who actually have offices here in the city of Deer Park, then run those tests using equipment like fire furnaces or tunnel tests to check flame spread and smoke development. All of this testing helps ensure that the materials used in buildings like walls, floors, insulation, and more meet safety codes, and give people time to escape during a fire. Together, these tests are making sure building materials can hold up long enough in a real fire to give people time to escape and help firefighters do their job safely. When experts test how fire safe a building material is, they use standardized tests that basically put the material into controlled worst case scenario to see how it behaves. One common test, called the ASTM E84, measures how fast flames spread along the surface of material by burning it in a long tunnel. This helps classify things like wall panels or insulation based on how quickly they catch fire and how much smoke they produce. Another major test that ASTM does is the ASTM E119, or there's an underwriter laboratory equivalent, which is the UL263, where walls, floors, beams, or doors are put into a large furnace and blasted with extreme heat to see how long they can stay structurally sound before failing. This is what gives a material its 1 hour or 2 hour fire rating. Additional tests like those from the NFPA or the NFPA 285 look at how fire spreads on exterior walls or other specialty components. Together, these tests make sure building materials can hold up long enough in a real fire to give people time to escape and help firefighters do their job safely. Fire tests and fire ratings matter in inspection and code enforcement because they tell us whether the material used in a building can hold up long enough in a fire to keep people safe. Tests like the ASTM E84 measure how fast those flames spread on the material surface, while tests like the ASTM E119 or the UL263 show how long walls, floors, or other parts of buildings can stay strong during extreme heat in a furnace. This is where 1 or 2 hour fire ratings come from, and inspectors rely on these ratings to make sure buildings and builders use approved, tested materials and that the building meets the fire safety requirements in the code. These ratings help code enforcement decide whether something is safe, needs to be repaired, or must be brought up to standards so that people have enough time to escape and firefighters have a safer environment to work in. In Deer Park, a structure is considered unsafe when it poses a risk to people's health or safety. And code enforcement looks for several clear warning signs in some parts of our city. There are aging buildings and residential areas, including condemned apartments. Other things like fences or building parts that are falling apart, maybe pools without required safety barriers or junk and debris piling up, raw sewage leaking onto the ground, or work being done on a home or business without proper permits. All of these situations can create hazards for residents and the first responders. Inspectors also check for issues like unsafe or unapproved electrical, plumbing, or mechanical work, as well as buildings that aren't being maintained or have structural problems that could cause collapse or injury. When these conditions are found, the city steps in and requires repairs or stop work so the property can be brought back up to code and kept safe for everybody. In our area, the building construction type that poses the biggest hazard for fire spread and large, hard to control fires is lightweight wood frame construction, which falls under the type 5. These buildings use a lot of combustible materials and often contain hollow spaces where fire can travel quickly before anybody even knows what's happening. Modern lightweight wood construction can start losing its strength in just 4 to 8 minutes, which means collapse can happen early and fires can grow rapidly through the structure and into nearby buildings. Wood frame structures also allow flames to spread easily from room to room and even jump to neighboring homes, especially when houses are close together. Compared to heavier or non-combustible construction types, this lighter wood design simply burns faster and fails sooner, making it the most dangerous type of construction when it comes to potential conflagration and fast-moving fire spread. So let's talk a little bit about plans. Plan reviews and structural control help prevent unsafe buildings in the first place by making sure any new building being built or anything being remodeled follows the safety rules before construction even starts. When the city reviews building plans, they check that things like electrical work, plumbing, structural supports, and fire safety features meet the required codes. And if the design doesn't meet the standards, the owner has to fix it or request a variance before moving ahead. Structural control continues once construction begins, ensuring the work matches the approved plans and that there's no shortcuts that are being taken that could create a fire hazard or weaken the building. This process prevents problems like unpermitted wiring, unsafe mechanical systems, or poorly built structures. These are issues Deer Park code enforcement frequently addresses in existing unsafe properties. By catching hazards early and requiring safe construction from day one, plans review and structural control help keep buildings safer for residents, reducing the number of dangerous structures in the community, and lowering the risk of major fires. So, in summary, fire and life safety in Deer Park relies on three core principles: the education, which helps residents prevent emergencies; enforcement, which ensures buildings follow required safety codes; and engineering, which incorporates fire resistant materials and safety systems into construction. Our code enforcement team applies these standards to both new and existing structures throughout permitting, inspections, and corrective actions. And fire resistant materials are tested using national standards like the ASTM E84 and E119 to confirm they meet the safety levels required by code. Common hazards we encounter include deteriorated buildings, unpermitted work, and unsafe electrical or structural conditions, with lightweight wood frame construction posing the highest risk for rapid fire spread. By strengthening education, maintaining consistent enforcement, and ensuring sound engineering practices through plan review and inspections, we can reduce unsafe structures, slow the spread of fires, and better protect Deer Park's residents, first responders, and overall community safety. Thank you for your time.